Macmillan Audio presents Magnificent Rebel, Nancy Cunard in Jazz Age Paris, by Anne de Courcy. Narrated for you by Rosy Armitage. Introduction. Whatever one thought of Nancy Cunard, it was impossible to ignore her. Her beauty alone would have seen to that. Although in photographs she's usually seen with unflatteringly pursed lips, her looks were something commented on by everyone who met her, with her huge blue-green eyes emphasised by their circles of kohl invariably remarked upon. Her personality was equally extraordinary. Around her shimmered a force field of energy that drew people in, often influencing them in ways they could hardly have credited before they had met her. Osbert Sitwell talked of her ineffable charm and distinction of mind. Alana Harper thought that, whatever she did, however violent, Nancy always looked more distinguished than other people. Harold Acton believed that she had inspired half the poets and novelists of the 1920s. What was not always obvious was that much of her extraordinary energy drew its power from an underlying anger, sometimes explosive on behalf of a cause or a righting of what she saw as an injustice, sometimes a slow burning resentment that simmered below the surface, as in her relationship with her mother. Later it would power her campaigning against injustices, especially those perpetrated against black people, fights which she pursued with immense courage and complete scorn for what anyone else thought. This hostility to her mother's attitudes, friends and social life — Emerald Cunard was perhaps the greatest hostess of the interwar years — gradually built up during Nancy's adolescence. Born into a life of wealth and privilege, yet one in which she hardly saw her parents, her childhood was lonely and constrained by a stern and unpleasant governess. Highly intelligent and a poet from early on, she rebelled against what was expected of her and her contemporaries. A debut followed by a London season or two, marriage to some suitable young man, children, and the running of a large house, probably in the country. What she wanted instead was a life in the arts, with the constant company of artists, writers, poets and painters, found in the great Soho cafes rather than the ballrooms of Mayfair. Escaping from her mother's influence through an early marriage, quickly followed by its disintegration, she soon made what was arguably the most formative decision of her life. She would live not in England, but in Paris. She arrived there at the beginning of 1920, to stay for approximately 14 years, the period I cover in this book. Here was everything she wanted. The richest and most stimulating artistic life in the Western world, untrammelled sex and plenty of alcohol. The last two quickly became addictions. In addition, it was close enough for her to keep in touch with her English friends, including and especially George Moore, her mother's lover, and the man Nancy herself had loved since early childhood. They would remain close until Moore's death just before she left Paris. Moore, then a major literary figure, had taken a great interest in the lonely little girl, talked to her as an equal, encouraged her writing, reviewed her poetry, and kept in constant and loving touch, often coming to Paris to visit her. It was in Paris that Nancy became a cultural icon, a muse to Wyndham Lewis, Aldous Huxley, Tristan Tzara, Ezra Pound, and Louis Aragon. Mina Loy wrote poems to her, Constantine Brancusi sculpted her, Man Ray photographed her, she played tennis with Ernest Hemingway, and after meeting her, the poet William Carlos Williams kept her photograph on his desk at all times.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?